Hey there, and welcome. Today, we're going to dive deep into Australia's skilled visa points test. You know, this is probably one of the most important hurdles for anyone looking at that skilled independent subclass 189 visa, and we're going to walk through it all, piece by piece. So, if getting a skilled visa for Australia is your big goal, then you are in exactly the right place. Because before you can even think about applying, you've got to understand how your own unique skills, your experience, and your background actually translate into points. Let's see how it all works. And look, this is way more than just some simple checklist. The points test is the whole system that decides if you'll even get an invitation to apply. A higher score, that massively boosts your chances. Seriously, think of it as your golden ticket. So let's get into it and start building your points profile right from the ground up. We'll begin with two of the most fundamental building blocks, your age, and of course, your English language skills. Okay, first up is age. The points you get are based on how old you are at the moment you're invited to apply. So, if you're between 18 and 24, you'll start off with a solid 25 points. But you'll notice the system actually gives a little extra to those with a bit more life experience, peaking at the maximum score. And there it is, 30 points. That's the maximum, and it's for anyone aged 25 to 32. After you turn 33, the points start to drop off again. So yeah, hitting that 25 to 32 sweet spot really gives you the strongest possible start for your score. All right, next up, English. Now, this is super important. You have to have at least competent English to even be in the running, but look closely, that gets you 0 points. The points only start to appear when you can prove you have proficient English. That's 10 points, or superior English, which doubles your score. This really just goes to show how incredibly valuable a high score on your English test can be. Hitting that superior level, that bags you a huge 20 points. Honestly, for many people, that can be a complete game changer for their application. Okay, we've got the core points down. Now let's move on to the next big category and see how your score can really start to grow, your skilled employment history. This is where your professional career comes into play. The system draws a really clear line between work experience you've gained in Australia versus outside of it. For example, 3 to 5 years of overseas experience gets you 5 points, but that exact same amount of time working in Australia, that gets you 10 points. And the gap just gets wider from there, with 8 or more years of local experience getting you the maximum of 20 points. But here is a critical rule you absolutely have to remember. It doesn't matter how many years of experience you have in total. The maximum you can claim for employment history, combining both Australian and overseas, is capped at 20 points. That's it. So what does employed actually mean in their eyes? Well, it's very specific. You have to have been working for pay for at least 20 hours a week. And it has to be in your nominated skilled occupation or one that's very closely related. Any part-time work that falls under that 20-hour threshold just won't count. All right, let's pivot to the next major part of your score, your educational qualifications. This is how all that hard work in your studies gets turned directly into points. As you'd expect, it's tiered based on your level of education. A doctorate, or PhD, will get you the highest amount at 20 points. A bachelor's degree is worth 15, and a diploma or a trade qualification will add 10 points to your total. But again, another really important rule to know. You can't stack these up. The points aren't cumulative. So if you have both a bachelor's degree and a diploma, you can only claim the points for your single highest qualification. So in that case, it would be 15 points for the bachelor's. But wait, there is a pretty significant bonus available here. If you've completed a master's by research or a doctorate from an Australian institution in a specific field like science, technology, engineering, math, or ICT, you can claim an extra 10 points. It's a really clear sign of how much they value that kind of specialized research. Okay, we're on the home stretch now. Let's talk about the final pieces of your points puzzle. These are things like partner points and other bonuses that can give you that crucial final push to get your score up into a really competitive range. So the partner skills points can seem a bit tricky, but let's break it down. It's actually pretty simple. You get 10 points if you're single or if your partner is already an Australian citizen or a permanent resident. You can also get those 10 points if your partner is applying with you and they meet all the key skill requirements. If they're applying with you but only have competent English, that's worth 5 points. Now for a quick series of 5-point bonuses that can really make a difference.
First off, if you've completed an eligible qualification right here in Australia that meets the 2-year study requirement, you can add 5 points to your tally.
Next up, if you've completed a formal professional year program in Australia in a field like accounting, ICT, or engineering, that'll also grant you another 5 points. It's basically a structured program designed to give you that valuable Aussie workplace experience. And did you get your Australian qualification while you were living and studying on a campus that's in a designated regional area? If you did, that's another 5 points for you. It's an incentive to get people studying outside of the big cities. And finally, if you're accredited by NATI, which is Australia's official authority for translators and interpreters, you can claim one last 5-point bonus for your community language skills. Phew! Okay, we have covered a lot of ground. So just take a moment. Think back through all those categories, your age, your English, your work experience, education, and all of those little bonus points. Based on everything we've just walked through, what's your score starting to look like? And that number you're thinking of right now? Well, that number is everything. Your points profile is the absolute key to being able to lodge a competitive expression of interest in the Skill Select system. Knowing exactly where you stand is the first and, honestly, the most powerful step you can take on your journey to a skilled visa for Australia.